In general, it's...
I want to lose a lot of weight in a short amount of time.
No, it's just people who expect a lot and do little.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like they show up, they don't even work out for 30 minutes because they cut it short.
Or they're late.
Or they're late, and then they see you twice a week, let's say. So you see them for an hour a week. Intensity's not there. They don't really want to do what you have for them. They just want to keep doing what feels comfortable. And it's like as soon as you try to get them to work a little bit harder, it's like, it's too heavy. I can't do it. They expect the world. They're like, why am I not losing weight? It's like,
I've had something similar. I've had something very similar to the point where the client ended up leaving. She left based off of the conversation I had with her. So she comes in, weight loss goal. She was probably about 245 pounds, 250-pound woman, 5'7", lovely human being. When we started training, we trained between strength and high intensity for 6 months. She buys for another 6 months. I'm like, hey, hell yeah. Around 2 months, she's like, hey, I stopped seeing results. And I'm like, let's talk about it. Please talk to me about your nutrition over the past couple of weeks, and then we'll go from there. Says I eat well. So 2 weeks go by, she's like, we've changed a bit of nutrition things, and then she still she's giving me shit because she's like, well, nothing's changed. And I'm like, God damn, it's been 2 weeks, patience.
Yeah.
So that day she leaves, whatever, another trainer comes in, and he's like, yo, I saw your client this weekend. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, well, she was on the patio. It was a restaurant in the Byward Market that no longer is there. And she was like, oh yeah, she was having it was a blue cocktail. And I'm like, okay, here we go. And I'm like, what else did you see? Oh, well, she was having appetizers with her friends, and I'm like, how many drinks did she have? He's like, I saw 2, but then I left. And I'm like, did she see you? And he's like, no. And I'm like, okay, thank you. Day's over. I'm excited because I'm like, yes, I found possibly a big issue with her nutrition is her weekend consuming with socialization with friends and all that jazz, which is a lot of people's problems when you dive into nutrition.
Yeah.
So I'm walking home. At this point in my career, I was taking the bus. It's 8:30. I'm walking to Rito to take the bus home, and I walk past Lone Star, and she's in Lone Star, and I'm like, oh shit. So I'm watching. She doesn't see me, so I'm watching. And I'm like, all you can eat fajitas. So I go home, come back, see her on Wednesday. And I remember this, we were doing rack pulls. And we were doing 145 pounds, and I'm waiting. I'm waiting for the nutrition talk to come in so I can be like, hey, I figured it out. She's in kind of a shitty mood, so I'm like, okay, let's play the field here. We want to bring this up in a non-attacking
100%
type of way. So she starts talking about food, so I was like, hey, what did you eat today? And she's like, whatever. I remember Monday. I'm like, what'd you eat on Monday? So she tells me her breakfast, tells me her lunch. She's like, oh, I had lasagna for dinner, cucumber, zucchini lasagna, or whatever.
Yeah.
And I kind of smirk, and I'm like, well, what'd you have after? She's like, nothing. And I'm like, but I saw you at Lone Star when I was going home. And she kind of looks at me. She's like, well, I didn't eat anything. And I'm like, I'm not going to sit there and say, yes, you were. I don't want to start that argument.
Right.
I'm like, I saw you, and I'm like, okay. I'm like, oh, so you're just having, you're just there with your son? She's like, yeah, he was eating, I didn't have anything. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm not gonna, let's not open that door. I'm not gonna argue. So I was like, hey, how was your weekend? What'd you do on the weekend? And she kind of tells me, and I'm like, how often do you go out and socialize with your friends? And she's like, well, once in a while. I'm like, do you go out and have drinks? And she's like, yeah, but I try to be a little bit more conscientious of what you drink. And I'm like, well, so-and-so saw you at this restaurant. He didn't say anything that would be negative, but he was mentioning that you had these 2 drinks. And then at that point, you could see her be like, well, I can go out and be social. And I'm like, no one says you can't, but you were snacking. And I'm like, even if you don't think that having a handful of French fries is impactful, you're not at a point where your body can consume what it requires.
Yeah.
Plus.
Yeah.
Because we're still trying to figure out what that number is, but you're not telling me the whole truth.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't care that you want to eat like this. The problem is you're telling me you're not losing weight. And this is a point where I was getting really stressed out with people because I'm like, they're not losing weight. What am I doing? What am I not giving them where they can't see success? You're not lying to me, but you're lying more to yourself.
Yeah.
I'm here to help. Why would you hide that from me? I don't care.
Yeah.
But I can help guide you. The session ended, goes to the front. We had receptionists at that time. She's like, how many sessions do I have left? And then she's like, I'm done. take care, bye. And I'm like, your goal is weight loss. And I didn't even confront you in a negative way where you having Lone Star or you having drinks on the patio with your friends is problematic. Let's see how we can make those things fit inside your nutrition, where you can still see results and still enjoy your life. But I couldn't even get to that point. If weight loss only requires 10 to 20% below your body's maintenance calories, eating 10, 20, 30% over won't cause weight gain in a short term.
No.
But over weeks and months, a pound here, a pound there, a pound here, a pound there, those all come from the small, non-thought out meals or snacks like, oh, my kid's having some chips, I'm just gonna have a handful.
Yeah.
Like, you need to come to that realization that that will have impact. By eating chicken, rice, and broccoli, because it's almost like that's the ongoing PT joke, just because you're eating that doesn't necessarily mean weight loss is going to happen.
No.
You could be eating 2,000 calories a day in ultra healthy food, but having half a brownie at lunch at work because, oh, they brought it to work. Yeah, that's possibly 200 calories you're not accounting for.
Yeah.
And then having a handful of chips at home, that might be 150, which on the grand scale is so insignificant. But 350 calories over what your body requires for weight loss will stop you from losing weight.
Yeah.
350 calories, times that by about 10, so it's about 3,600 calories over whatever your body needs to gain 1 pound. Well, you could just gain a pound in 10 days.
Yeah.
But because a pound is so insignificant, you're not going to recognize it.
Until 6 months down the road.
And then in 6 months, you're like, oh my God, I gained 8 pounds.
Yeah.